Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings versus Philadelphia Eagles NFC Championship game based on analytics. And each week, I like to collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some variation between various variables. However, there's always going to be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So we are finally here, guys. We're at the NFC Championship game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm very surprised, as I think most of you guys are, very crazy end to the Vikings game for sure. The Vikings game, that was just insane. But now we have this game, and this is going to be very, very interesting because both of these teams are very, very tight in the data. I think based on the overall, this is the NFL stat basic comparison data. This basically goes over everything, how the offense is doing in terms of various data points, the defense, and the special teams. And so far, the data does favor the Philadelphia Eagles, 96.69 to 92.76 for the Minnesota Vikings. But from a statistical standpoint, very, very tight football game. So even though the Eagles are favored, very tight, like very tight. So now let's get into a couple of the basics here when it comes to where the Vikings are favored, where the Eagles are favored, and just kind of a general overview of the basics here. When you look at this information, the Vikings are pretty much favored in a lot of the data. The Vikings have a better turnover ratio, meaning that they don't allow as many turnovers. They also have a better sack percentage, meaning they allow less sacks compared to the Eagles. But the Eagles have a better offensive score percentage, which is essentially the ability to put up points. So in many ways, it's kind of a toss-up in terms of which offense is better. The Vikings are better just when it comes to not making bad plays, not creating turnovers, not allowing sacks. But they don't quite put up the same amount of points that the Eagles do. So in many ways, this is kind of a difference of team strength a bit on offense. But then when you get to the defensive side of the football, the majority of the data on defense favors the Eagles. The Eagles have the better defensive offensive score percentage, meaning they allow less points on defense. The Eagles also have more turnovers on defense. They have a much higher turnover percentage and a much higher interception percentage, whereas the Vikings have a better sack percentage. So defensively speaking, most of the data does break for the Eagles here. Not in terms of micro, but macro data. So the Eagles in many ways are just a better defense because they allow less points and they create more turnovers. And that's pretty much why they're kind of a little bit favored in the data, slightly favored in terms of the overall data, is because their defense is just a little bit better in most of the different categories here. Now when you get to special teams data, the Vikings are favored in terms of punt return yardage, kick return yardage, defensive punt return yardage, and defensive kick return yardage is favored by the Eagles. Field goal percentage is favored by the Eagles as well. Extra point percentage and punting average is also favored by the Eagles. In terms of who has the better special teams, it definitely is the Eagles. The Eagles have it when it comes to field goal percentage, which is by far one of the better indicators to winning football games when it comes to the macro data, but definitely pretty tight. So even when it comes to special teams data, the Eagles are favored, but not by a giant margin. So just keep that in mind when it comes to this overall game. So essentially, when you look at the basic data, the basic information when it comes to this football game, the Eagles are favored because they have a better defense and a better offense when it comes to putting points on the board. However, this is still a very, very tight football game. The Nick Foles element to this game is also another thing that you have to kind of consider and think about as well. But very, very tight game from a macro standpoint between both these teams. And then when you get to some micro data, so now we're getting into some down and distance data, essentially, or situational football as Bill Belichick likes to put it. Between the Vikings offense and Eagles defense when it comes to completion percentage, the Vikings offense is pretty much favored on first down, second down, and third down. So The Vikings would definitely have the advantage over the Eagles when it comes to just being able to complete the football, which of course leads to more plays down the field. Then of course we look at the Eagles offense versus the Vikings defense when it comes to completion percentage. And in this particular area, the Vikings defense is favored on first down, second down, and third down. So the Vikings pretty much have the advantage on offense and defense when it comes to completion percentage data. So that's definitely kind of a big ups to the Vikings as a team. And then we get to first down conversion rate with the run. Again, this really has nothing to do with explosive plays or yardage. It mainly has to do with when it's 1st and 10 or 1st and 5 and you run the football, how often do you convert in those situations? And based on this information, the Eagles defense has the better run defense against the Vikings offense. So definitely see the Eagles defense kind of showing up and being pretty decent at clogging the run and doing those types of things against the Vikings offense. And then on the flip side, when you look at the Eagles offense versus the Vikings defense when it comes to rushing downs, this particular area, the Vikings, are favored in terms of second down and third down. So the Vikings defense will also show up pretty big in this game in terms of stopping the run as well. So this is going to be a game where there's probably not going to be a ton of groundwork being done because both these defenses are fairly decent at preventing the run and doing that kind of thing. Then of course we get to passing downs. This is the Vikings passing offense versus the Eagles passing defense, where the Eagles passing defense is actually favored here on first down and third down situations slightly, very, very slightly. So this definitely has a feel of a 50-50 type matchup here. The Eagles are slightly favored. However, it does have a little bit of a feel of evenly matched. It's just that it depends on the situation. So first down more so breaks for the Eagles, second down more so breaks for the Vikings, and then third down slightly favors the Eagles. So this is definitely going to be a really interesting game. Like, this is the matchup to watch really, is what the Vikings offense does versus the Eagles defense, because that's going to be a big determiner in terms of who wins this football game. And then of course we look at the Eagles offense versus the Vikings defense when it comes to passing downs, and in this particular area, the Vikings defense is favored on first down, second down, and third down. The Vikings have pretty much one of the best third down passing defenses since 1998. They are extremely proficient at preventing passing plays from being converted on third down. So this is going to be another big matchup to see what happens in this game, especially with Nick Foles. Is he going to be able to overcome that? Is he going to be able to overcome the Vikings passing D? Because it's been something special to watch this year. I mean, that's all you can really say because of how well they've been playing from a historical standpoint and from just a this year standpoint. Very, very, very well for them. Then, of course, you get to sack rate between the Vikings offense and the Eagles defense. In this particular area, the Vikings offense is favored on first down, second down, and third down. So kind of unlikely that the Vikings will give up a lot of big sacks in this game. But you never know, but definitely not as likely in terms of this particular matchup. Then we get to the Eagles offense versus the Vikings defense when it comes to sack rate. In this particular area, the Eagles offense is favored on second down and third down when it comes to that particular area. Then of course we get to interception ratio between the Eagles offense, the Vikings offense, and the Eagles defense. And in this particular area, the Vikings offense is favored on first down and second down in terms of that particular situation. So very unlikely that the Vikings will throw a ton of picks in this game. And then finally, we get to the Eagles offense versus the Vikings defense when it comes to interception ratio, where the Eagles offense is favored on first down, second down, and third down. So another situation where very unlikely that a pick will be thrown by either the Eagles offense or the Vikings defense. So both these teams are pretty proficient at not turning the football over. So you got that other sort of element there. So overall, general thoughts and feelings about this football game. I think that this honestly is going to break for the Vikings. I think when you look at the third down data and you look at all the other sort of defensive data, it just really screams Vikings here. So even though the Eagles defense does have a lot of things that might go their way, because like if the Eagles are going to win this football game, they have to get turnovers from Case Keenum. And that's the big thing. If they can get Case Keenum to throw picks, turn the football over, then the Eagles will have a definitely decent shot at winning this football game. But if they don't do that, if Case Keenum does what he's been doing the entire year, if they're proficient in terms of their offense and their defense, the Vikings defense in particular comes up with some really big plays, this definitely can break for them. So very excited about this game. Very, very excited. And of course, let me know in the comment section below, who do you believe is going to win this football game? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when another video of mine drops. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Peace.